Texas All-American, NFL veteran, and of course, one of the greats in Killeen ISD history, Roy Miller with us, SicEm365 Radio. Haven't talked to you in a while, but obviously it's that time. You have your big camp coming around this summer. Let's start with you. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Doing really good. And just glad to be here talking to you.
Well, I appreciate that. So this is now, it's hard to imagine, because when I arrived in Waco, which has been about 11 or 12 years ago, you had just started this Centex Pro Football and Cheer Camp, and it's obviously taken off. I see the names involved, a bunch of great names, including, of course, with what you've done. What does it mean to you, Roy, to give back?
Man, it's important to me. Just growing up in the area, being a military kid, just feels like there's only military people around you often. And so for me, it was important to just bring positive role models back to the area consistently year after year, so that the kids have somebody that they can call their own, and somebody that's going, there to mentor them.
When you were at Shoemaker, did you have that person?
I was lucky. I met Tommy Harris when I was going in my junior year, and you go from being at Shoemaker High School and, barely having enough parents in the stands for whatever reason, whether they're trapped, whether they were fighting in the war, or it's just always consistently been PTA attendance. It feels like as a child that everything there is, just for military, right? Mm-hmm. That's the way I felt. And so when I met, so for me, first of all, football was important. My coaches were big role models to me. But next, I met Tommy Harris, and it did something different to me. I gained a new sense of pride. Watching him play at Oklahoma, watching him then going to the NFL did something to me. And so ever since that experience of being mentored by the likes of him, I knew it was something that the kids would need growing up.
When you are in front of, whether they are in junior high or younger, or they are in high school, it's hard to get the attention of young people today because there's so many things going on, so many distractions, so many options, so many things to do. How do you know if they're listening to you?
That's a great question. You don't, you hope that they are. A lot of times we just hope we get across to, a handful of kids in the group. But that's why I think we try to teach the kids that, hey, you come out here and it's really about you making a decision in your mind that you are going to get something out of today. And I think that same process just crosses over to so many different walks of life. They literally have to make the conscious decision that they want to get something out of what we have today. And like you said, because of the NFL and some of the guys that are there, they listen just a little bit more. And that allows us to talk about other things outside football. Because obviously we know that the NFL doesn't last long. Mm-hmm. So we just want to take the opportunity, since we got their attention, to maybe tell them something that the parents are already telling them, whether it's, you need to compete in the classroom, the same way you compete in sports, or nutrition and taking care of your body, and, all those things.
So there's three teams you played for in the NFL. The longer stints with Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, and of course you had your last year with Kansas City. But so the Buccaneers just won the Super Bowl, Tom Brady and that group. Jacksonville now has Urban Meyer and Charlie Strong's on his staff. And, of course, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago and then lost to Tampa Bay. Do you reflect back on those teams when they were having that kind of success? Jacksonville, obviously, there's a coaching change for a reason, but Tampa Bay and Kansas City?
Yeah, man, I do. I guess I kind of got my little glory days at Texas of winning teams, but looking back, those teams just took off, here recently, and I mean it's fun to watch. I'm really excited to see Coach Urban Meyer do his thing, and Charlie Strong obviously the quarterback is interesting to me, but I don't know. Looking back, I guess we can have all kind of wishes, but I just wish them best of luck, and I think it's bringing good football to Florida.
Well, yeah, in Jacksonville, obviously, it's going to be interesting to see what Meyer does. He wins everywhere he goes. He's also left some things where he's gone, too, but to be a part of that ought to be interesting as well. So when you were a freshman, Texas won the national title, correct?
Right.
What was that like to watch that moment? You were a highly recruited player. Everybody knows that out of Shoemaker. But what was it like back then? And, of course, the game goes down to a Vince Young. Goes down to a 4th and 1, really. And then Vince scores. What was that like to be a part of that as such a young player?
I mean, it was man, looking back, at the time, I'll be real with you, we felt like we were going to be in that position year after year because we had all the guys there were coming back for their senior year. Nobody kind of, well, at least in our circle, thought Vince was going to leave. And I think that's what allowed us to play so freely in the game. But, first, there were so many feelings that I experienced in that game. The first one was I actually got to play. And, for a young guy, most of the games I was just a big cheerleader, just cheering those guys on until they stomp people out by halftime. And I was able to, play at the end of most of those games. And I fully just anticipated watching two really good teams play that day. And, I ended up getting my name called and didn't know where my helmet was at, that kind of deal. But, I mean, it was exciting. At the time, it's hard to, I guess, visualize and accept that what you're seeing is like something so great, But us knowing that we were playing one of the best teams of all time, we were sat in the hotel rooms and we watched. They were like the best team, of all time, and how this USC team was stacked up against NFL teams. And so, during that time, we had a lot of pride in what we did. And, we had just beat Colorado 77-0. And to be honest with you, we really didn't respect the opponents that USC was playing in the Pac-10, Pac-12 at the time. We were playing, it felt like every week we were playing great teams in the Big 12. And then in preseason, we played Ohio State and, those teams. Man, when it's all said and done, and when you look back at it, felt like a blur at the time, but now it just feels, I just have a tremendous sense of pride knowing that I was a part of those moments.
You initially recruited, you initially committed to Oklahoma. And I believe you even reiterated that, validated that early on when the coaches started calling. What changed your mind?
Well, you know what's crazy? I tried to commit to Baylor.
Really?
And I did. Baylor offered me my first scholarship, and I sat in I think Guy Morris was the head coach, and I sat there with them, and I said, I brought them my film. They took a look at it, and then they said, we're gonna offer you a scholarship. And I was like, I didn't know at the time. I had no idea that was even a possibility. That I just was so oblivious to all those things. And I told Coach, well, I'm ready to commit. And he told me no. He told me no. They told me no. I needed to. He said, son, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to offer you scholarships, and you just need to take your time. But we're going to be in touch with you, and we're going to. And I was shocked when that happened. But fast forward, I guess a couple months later, Oklahoma sent me a scholarship offer, and at that time they were rolling, and I just, Tommy was from the area, and I wanted to be just like him, so it was like, okay, well, let me follow his footsteps, and so I just committed, and I felt like Oklahoma was. I don't feel like they gave me I never got a chance to meet the whole staff. They were winning so much. I felt like they were just kind of complacent in like everything that they were doing, because I was having like, at that time as a child, it's kind of hard to you kind of deal with people as they give you attention, and at that time I just felt like all these other schools were trying to get me and my parents out there and trying to, just they really wanted me to go to school, be a part of their program, and I just felt like Oklahoma was, they had their recruits and stuff that they liked. I visited there one time, and I just felt like I didn't meet the staff again. And so when I got back, I just called Coach Bobby Jackson. He asked me. He said, "So I heard you went to Texas to watch the practice or something." I told him how I felt about everything, and he said, "Well, son, we're gonna win with or without you, so you need to make your mind up." And so I kind of was like, okay, well, you're going to win without me, then I guess, I told him I'll just pull my commitment, and, that's kind of how that whole thing went down.
You mentioned the attention, and obviously then you commit to Texas, and the rest is history, but you mentioned the attention. Now with social media, can you imagine right now, because you would have gotten offers from pretty much everywhere, and even more so now because things are so much more, everyone sees so much more even than even 12, 15, 18, well, for your case, 17 years ago. But what are your thoughts about, and again, it's their life, it's their career, it's their football, it's their scholarship, but you see someone put up, I'll cut it to 15. And then it's to 6, and then is there a little bit and again, I'm not trying to get off my lawn, old man, but is there almost a little bit too much of that?
It is, because the reality is, and I give you a quick story. The reality is you're going to run into these coaches again, and I don't know. I guess I kind of feel like an old man too when I think about this, like. Because, at the end of the day, you're going to have to go put those pads on and be a man, practice. And, so all the sideshow stuff kind of, I don't know. I just think it makes you softer. At the end of the day, you're playing games with teams and schools. And I don't think a lot of these young guys realize, like, that these college coaches that they're talking to, they're going to see again later. Like, for instance, for me, I remember UCLA came to my house one time, and I got a call from the head coach, and he was like, "Hey, we're sending somebody there." And this is me taking them for granted. I was just like, okay, I went and worked out after school, kind of took my time getting back home, and I just realized, and I completely forgot, and when I came home, they were like, "Wow, we've been waiting on you, for a while. What have you been up to?" Pretty much. And I was just like, wow. I completely forgot. I felt, looking back, it was disrespectful, right? But fast forward, I'm sitting, I go to college, and, when you go to college, you end up seeing all these other coaches at different places, right? So, and then once I went to the NFL draft, like the NFL combine, I'm sitting at a table, I'm doing these interviews with these different coaches, and all of a sudden I'm going to the Chargers table, and the coach that was sitting at my house that night that I blew off is sitting right in front of me, interviewing me for the San Diego Chargers.
Wow.
And, I was just like, wow, I guess I'm not getting drafted by the
Well, there's a red flag, and even if it was just an innocent mistake on your part, and you're right, you probably you owned it, but wow, there's so many things that could have changed how and where you ended up. We've talked to you a half a dozen times, maybe 10 or 12 times, but this is so insightful. Okay, Texas has their new coach, Steve Sarkisian. You mentioned soft. They've gotten a rap down in Austin for being a little bit soft. Have you seen that? Is it time for them to start winning again?
It's definitely time to start winning. It's hard, I talk. I hate to talk about it, but ever since 2000, I felt like after 2005 at Texas, after we won, it felt like the guys were coming in and I don't, the social media and the stuff that came with that, I felt like when they signed with Texas, or that they were already NFL or something. Like, they felt like back home everybody was, that's just, those days I felt like those days after 2005 the recruits were taking like the wrong mentality. I don't understand. I don't understand how you coach right now when you got to, kiss your recruit's butt so hard, and you got to put so much for them on you. You got to read everything. You got to follow them on all. Like, it's not even about football. It's about how much can you love on. How much can you, just promote them. And so, I don't know what Texas. I like the way they look in the bowl game, but I don't know. I felt like a lot of things that were happening at Texas on the field was because Ellinger looked like he was hurt last year. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, but a lot of Texas fans don't want to talk about that. I know a lot of times Texas has a tendency to put a guy out there and kind of let him ride out into the sunset till he graduates. But I was in the camp of, if he's hurt, take him out, put somebody else in, or bench him. That's if he's just playing bad. Then the NFL, they don't do stuff like that. If you can't, they treat it the same way. That you can't. And so, I don't know. I'm hoping that Coach can come in and they can get to work and they can, win some games.
So now let's get to your camp. Roy Miller, former Shoemaker great, Texas All-American, national champion, NFL veteran. You have the camp. This is the 12th year. Can you believe it's been 12 years with this Centex football? And I love the fact you've included cheer, because that includes a lot of the girls and others, younger kids. In 12 years, Roy?
It's been 12 years. It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't even it's hard to imagine that all that time has flown by, that we've had so many generations, decades of players that have come out and been a part of it. It's something that we've dreamed about, of having everybody come out and be a part of something, and something special. And so, more than anything, I just think that I thank the players, because they're the ones that, like I said, sacrificing their time. And they deem that this is important to them. They come every single year and they give back. And so, all around, we love it. And, we still got a couple spots left. NFL Camp 21, .eventbrite.com, eventbrite.com. People can sign up. I'm excited, and post-COVID, I'm just trying to figure out, what this is going to look like. But it's just exciting to get around people again, like to be around friends and, and people for the last year or so. It's just been scary. Matter of fact, last year we kind of had to navigate around the pandemic, and we just did a bunch of food drives.
I remember that, yeah.
Of our camp. So we're excited to be around friends and family, just to catch up, and some of the young guys that are coming up, I get to meet them and stuff like that. So it's exciting.
Well, I know the Coach Foreman's trying to get Shoemaker turned around. They've made the playoffs the last couple of years. Of course, they have to run into that district from hell with Duncanville, DeSoto, and Cedar Hill at times. Yeah. Roy Miller, man, I've interviewed you, I mentioned a lot, and today I've learned a lot of new things about you. It's great. Can't believe Baylor. I know that they were trying to be fair, but my God, who knows? So that'll be interesting to the fan base, huh? Man.
Yeah, I was ready to I was ready.
That's crazy. Well, Again, it's the 12th annual Centex Pro Football and Cheer Camp, Saturday, June the 12th in Killeen. Roy Miller has been the lightning rod and the guy who's all the stirs to drink with this particular event. Thanks for your time. Have a great time. Good luck with those young men and women, and we appreciate it. Enjoy your last few hours in Mexico.
Yes, sir. Thank you, David.
Roy Miller.
Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Roy Miller on SicEm365 Radio.
If you're building something,